Thanks for listening to The BJ Show on Westplex Talk. The BJ Show is broadcast and streamed live Monday through Friday between 7 and 8 a.m. You can listen to replays of the show at bjshow.co or on YouTube at bjshow.video. Now it's back to Brad and John on Westplex Talk.
Who dumped a whole truckload of fizzies into the swim meet? Who delivered the medical school cadavers to the alumni dinner? Every Halloween, the trees are filled with underwear. Every spring, the toilets explode.
Every spring, the toilets explode. Does that happen to your place, John? Your toilets ever explode at your place?
Yeah, a lot of times I like to put cherry bombs down there and just to test the porcelain fortitude.
Okay, yesterday I had lunch with Mike Elam.
Whoa. Are you serious?
Yes, we had a great lunch.
Wait, Mike Elam?
Yes. The Mike Elam.
Oh, wow. We didn't talk about that in B-Block yesterday. I'm glad somebody said it and once let everybody to know that he was right. Go ahead, Brad.
Randy Bluestone, I know you're up there in heaven. Do you hear John giving me all that S? He must.
Go ahead. I'm not going to step on your story because I want to hear what it's about. You said you got big news coming, Brad.
Well, okay. Mike, he told me this on the phone a couple weeks ago, and I asked him yesterday, I said, can I talk about this on the air? Because I don't necessarily, you and I are in the same boat. You have conversations with people, and they tell you things, and sometimes it's like, okay, don't ever repeat this, or don't ever, attribute this to me. He said that, and let's go back a little histrionics on this. Okay, Bill Eigel didn't make it as governor, even though he made a pretty good showing. I think he surprised everybody by getting more votes than Jay Ashcroft. Wouldn't you agree with that?
He surprised a lot of people, yeah.
Right, and I think everybody thought it was going to be Kehoe number 1, Ashcroft number 2, and Bill Eigel.
Or they thought it would be Ashcroft number 1, Kehoe number 2, and then, But most folks thought that Bill Eigel would finish in third place or a distant third place.
Right, exactly, and actually he had a very strong finish in second place, okay? So Bill Eigel is essentially right now officially still a senator, which will end not next month, but in January of next year, 2025. And you reported on the fact that we had this, about a month or so ago, that he had applied, essentially put his name into the hat in the Federal Register, or whatever it's called, for a federal office, and he was essentially declaring for second congressional district in the state of Missouri, correct?
That he could run for that office. Yep.
Right. And everybody, he's going to challenge Ann Wagner, because every year or every 2 years, it always comes up that people will say, well, Ann Wagner's probably not going to run for re-election, right? I mean, isn't that something?
Well, people don't say that, but people say, hey, it's about time that somebody challenge Ann Wagner from the right.
Well,
you're right.
I've also heard that she's privately told people, you know what, I think it may be soon for me to step down.
You're right. You've heard me say that. I think I'm the only person that said that. But yes, Brad, you're right. You have heard that on the show. But I see your point. So Bill Eigel files for second district, or paperwork to allow him to raise money in the second district. And
then he files for running in St. Charles County for, I don't know, did he specifically file for county executive, or do you have
He didn't say county exec, but he said he could he could run for any county office. He can raise money to run for any county office.
Right. And you pretty much figured out that he's going to run for county executive because Steve Elam is essentially retiring after his term is over in his term's over in 2027, but the election will be in 2026. So he's into the sunset of his career. And I think Steve's 71, 72, 73, something like that.
Yeah, he's an older guy, yeah.
Right. And he's younger than me though, but he's a spring chicken as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I talked to Mike Elam a couple weeks ago about this, and yesterday I said at lunch, when I had lunch with him, I said, okay, you told me this on the phone. Can I talk about this on the air? And he says, yes. He had coffee with Bill Eigel, where they sat down and
good
across the table and essentially said, okay, Bill, what's going on? And he said, this is what Mike Elam told me, that Bill Eigel, this is from, when they're coffee, Bill Eigel told Mike that Bill had already either had a meeting or had a conversation on the phone or maybe coffee with Ann Wagner, and sort of put it to the fact that, hey, you know what? I'm going to run another time. I'm going to run in 2026. And it wasn't expressly said, but it was sort of communicated that, if you're going to try to primary me in 26, I don't think it's going to turn out well for you. Because of the fact that apparently Ann Wagner what's she been in Congress for 20 years now or something like that?
She was elected in 2012.
Okay, so, that's, so she's been in 12. Okay, 12 years. Okay, so she probably has a pretty decent war chest at this point in time.
Yeah, for sure. And the ability, more importantly, the ability to raise money quickly.
That was my next point. She can probably make a few phone calls and probably get a boatload of cash from people that have helped her and people that believe in her and people that think that she's done a good job. Okay, so essentially, Bill Eigel has not officially, according to what Mike Elam said, but for the most part, he's going to set his sights on county executive. So it's going to turn out to be a primary race between Bill Eigel and Mike Elam, and I believe Nick Guccione from the mayor of Wentzville is going to be involved as well too. There'll probably be some other names thrown into the hat right there. And Mike's very positive about this from the respect that, he's, and if you know Mike, Mike is just, and not because of the fact that he's a radio guy, and he still is the radio guy, he still fills in on Camo X and 97.1 quite a bit. He's really a good guy. And if you know the whole crazy story about him, he's an Arkansas boy, grew up in Arkansas, joined the Navy. He's the one that told me that, I'll never forget this, at a speaking engagement. We were at a Salvation Army event. We were doing the kicking off the bell ringing season. And he told the story of how when you graduate before you can graduate from basic training in the Navy, you have to swim 200 yards. And he brought this up because I thought it was a very interesting metaphor, or whatever you want to call it. And the reason they give that Navy people have to swim 200 yards is because if you're in the Navy, chances are you're on a ship. And if the ship goes down, you have to be 200 yards away from that ship when it goes underwater, because it creates this incredible undertow as the ship goes down, and it sucks everything around it into the water. Okay? So the idea being is you abandon ship, you don't have a life raft, you get off the ship, you swim like a crazy man or crazy woman 200 yards away, 600 feet, so when the ship goes down, it doesn't take you down with you. Okay? There's a metaphor there about life. About life is that sometimes we get sucked down by things that we're too close to. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
I do know, yeah.
Sometimes you see it in marriages where one side is sucking the other one down, and sometimes you see it. I mean, that's part of her duty as a wife, wouldn't you say? John, never mind.
Brad, I appreciate, and I know that Mike brought this up in terms of keeping the region strong and not just one area. Go ahead and finish, and then we can get back to the political piece.
Well, the point of it being is that Mike, I know the guy personally, and he's a good-hearted guy. And what's interesting about it is he really does care about St. Charles County. He feels the way I do about it, that it's turned into this place that people used to make fun of. I tell the story all the time. When I moved to St. Charles County 40 years ago, in 1984, my boss, Mr. Ron Grubbs, Mr. West County, snob, came in the studio one day and he says, "Hey, Brad, I hear you're getting a place out in St. Charles County." And I go, "Yeah, I am." And he says, "Is it a single wide or a double wide?" Okay, so in other words, the idea being is that we all live in trailers in St. Charles County. Okay, it's changed quite a bit, and it's turned into an incredible place where, and this is the argument that I had with Mike yesterday. Mike still believes in the fact that he's on the East-West Gateway Coordinating Committee, whatever it's called. What's that? That's the thing. Him and Steve Elam. And they still very much believe in the fact that it's imperative that all these surrounding counties, including St. Charles, Franklin, Warren, Lincoln, Jefferson, and the counties on the east side, work to get St. Louis City straightened out. And I asked him the question that I ask all the time. And I said, "Mike, if you're traveling and you get off the plane somewhere and someone comes up to you and says, 'Hey, where are you from?' What do you say?" And he says, "I'm from St. Louis." And the problem with that is that in my experience, when you do that, people go, oh my God, is it as bad as I hear? Is it terrible there, like Ferguson everywhere? Do you get shot at all the time? How many times have you been carjacked? Has any woman in your family ever been raped? Have you ever been held up at gunpoint? And the idea being is it's marketing 101. Sometimes I give the example. Once upon a time, and John, this may be before your time, there was this drug that you could buy. It was over the counter and was a weight loss drug. And you know what the name of that drug was?
AIDS.
Exactly. It was called
AIDS. It's one of my favorite old commercials.
It was called AIDS, and it was a over-the-counter thing that you took that you can lose weight with.
It was a stimulant so that ladies that sat around all day during the day didn't eat ice cream while they watched their soaps.
Right.
And they would feel nervous and they wouldn't want to eat.
So what in the world happened to that drug, that over-the-counter drug, when the AIDS crisis came around? That drug disappeared because it was tainted, okay? That's my point with Mike, and that's my point with the Westplex. And the interesting part of it is, after I made my pitch to Mike, he joined the Westplex Chamber.
Oh, now does he get a certificate for being like the first member?
No, I've got like 30 members now. I'm up to like 30 members, John.
That is awesome.
And it's growing all the time. Matter of fact, I think yesterday I picked up 3 members. Now, but the interesting part of this is, I won't go into where we talked about the various chambers and stuff like that. But the point being is, why am I doing this? I've started my own chamber. Matter of fact, if you were listening right now, and you don't have to live in the Westplex, and the Westplex is the 8 communities that, if you read my little mission statement on my front page there, you don't have to live there. Interesting, several of the new members I picked up do not live in the Westplex. Their idea is they know it's a happening place, and they want to do business in the Westplex. So they've joined the Westplex Chamber of Commerce, okay? The idea being is that what we're doing is we're trying to create a marketing angle of this, because the crazy part of it is, if you drive around in the Westplex, okay, and you drive around on I-70 going west from the bridge all the way out to Highway 40 in Wentzville, there are very few people who can tell you when you're in St. Charles, when you're in St. Peter's, when you're in O'Fallon, when you're in Lake St. Louis, when you're in Wentzville. They don't know. Because why is that, John? Take a guess.
Because there are so many municipalities out there.
Well, they've all grown together. I mean, that's the whole point of it. It's to the point where you don't know where you're at. Okay, let me see if I can find this. It's not right here right now. Anyway, so that's my whole pitch. And my pitch is on this, and I know this sounds somewhat, old-timey, but I do believe in this. As the tide rises, so do all boats. And the idea being that, and it's sort of the, and it gets attacked all the time because it was sort of the trickle-down economic theory that, and once again, the idea being that sometimes people say, well, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Okay, once again, I ask the question, how many times have you ever been hired by someone who is broke? Normally, the people that hire you have money. And interesting, I ran into Mike. It was a 2 Mike Elam day, because last night I went to a presentation out at the OPO. You know what the OPO is in St. Charles?
Yeah, Other People's Orifices. It's a song by Naughty by Nature from 1991.
It's the old post office. It's on.
Oh, okay.
It's on Main.
Well, I mean the same thing. A lot of those guys are a-holes, right? I'm sorry, Brad. I take your Westplex pitch very seriously. Keep going.
Okay. The guy who was doing the pitch last night was a guy by the name of Jim Eberlin. Jim Eberlin, Eberlin. And once again, I was blown away. This guy's a local dude. And he has started and founded many companies which sold for millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. He was talking about, essentially, his pitch last night was, and if I can see the pictures here, let me look at it. His pitch was, the presentation was Keys to an Effective Early Stage Startup. And he was working with people who are trying to start businesses and trying to scale them. And I find this fascinating because of the fact that, once again, I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. I started work. I could tell you crazy stuff I've done as a kid. One point in time, I owned 12 Massey Ferguson tractors, okay? And you know how I owned 12 Massey Ferguson tractors?
Yeah, you stole them.
No, I didn't steal them. A friend of my mother's worked for a company that had a bunch of these tractors that were going to be auctioned off, and I bid on the auction and I won. So one day a tractor trailer shows up with not one, not two, but a dozen Massey Ferguson tractors, which most of them didn't run and most of them were in bad shape. They were ones that had been used by this company and most of them were like in bad shape. So I worked for, I don't know, about 6 months, and I rebuilt, I think, 7 or 8 of them that I could rebuild, and I sold them off. I did this.
I feel like, by the way, we're in the first 5 minutes of an episode of A&E's Hoarders, where everybody's walking through Grandpa's backyard, and they're like, "Wow, how did you accumulate all this stuff?" And he goes, "Well, did I ever tell you the story about the time I had the 12 Massey Fergusons?" And then the Judds come in and sing, "Grandpa, tell us about the good old days."
They're making fun of me, John. Okay, but
I'm not making fun of you. I just feel like we're in an episode of Hoarders. But you were going, so as we weaved here from your lunch to Bill Eigel making up a story about Ann Wagner to the undertow of the Navy to a guy giving a pitch scale or a pitch story about scaling businesses. That's where we are right now.
Okay. So, but then what happened? A big alligator came into the restaurant we're at right now, and Mike Elam got up and wrestled the alligator, and it turned out it was Bill Eigel in an alligator suit.
Oh my gosh! I believe it. You know what I mean? Now, what I love about let's get back real quick. I know it's not the point of the story, and the point that most people want to hear is stuff about. I know that's not what people want to hear is like political gossip. But what I love is a week ago when Bill Eigel was on Mark Cox's show. He made a joke about the Bill Eigel rumor mill and how everybody's got a theory of what he's running for, which I just think is so funny because we're all very interested. A lot of people are very interested in what Eigel's going to run for. And let's go back to the Ann Wagner thing real quick, Brad. So for anybody listening to this, what you're hearing about Ann Wagner running again is Brad Hildebrand telling a story that was told to him by Mike Elam, that was told to him by Bill Eigel, that was told to him by Ann Wagner. So John's telling you a story Brad told him from Mike Elam, from Bill Eigel, from Ann Wagner. So that's we are. We're at 7 degrees of separation from the original source. And that doesn't mean that it's not accurate. It just means that this is how the political game of telephone goes. Right, Brad? Okay,
hold on a minute. John has thrown down the gauntlet. Okay?
Are you going to call him and annoy him on a Wednesday morning, Brad?
Yes, I am, John. Here we go.
Oh, my God.
You've thrown down the gauntlet. Okay, here we go. Here's Bill Eigel. See if he answers the phone. Okay, he won't.
Good morning, Brad.
Bill.
Oh, there we go.
Bill, okay, I can't believe you answered the phone. Okay. Can I? You're going to be the official source on this, okay?
Tell him he's on the air, Brad.
Okay.
Tell him he's on the air.
By the way, Bill, you are on the air. Okay, you're on the air. You know that, right?
Yes, I know that.
Okay, are you okay with that?
Of course.
Okay. Yesterday, I had lunch with Mike Elam. You know who Mike is, right?
Mike Elam? Oh, yeah, of course.
And he told me the story that you had a conversation with Ann Wagner, correct?
I did have a conversation with Ann Wagner, several as a matter of fact.
And Ann Wagner has informed you that she is going to run for a re-election in 2026, correct?
She's actually said that publicly, yes.
But
yes, she did say that. She repeated that to me, yes.
So what Mike inferred is that from your coffee that you had with Mike Elam is that you're not going to run for a 2nd District congressional seat, you're going to run for county executive. Is that correct?
Oh, well, it's I haven't made any final decisions about what my 2026 plans are, but I would say that I'm keeping a very close eye on Bill Eigel rumor mill because it's very active, and sometimes I hear some great things in the Bill Eigel rumor mill that kind of give me ideas about what I'm going to do. But I have not made any final decision about what I'm going to do.
Well, I heard one other rumor that you and Brian Nieves were going to form a tag team match, and you're going to go into the WWE. Is that one true?
No, that's oddly specific. But no, I haven't been a part of any discussion like that.
Okay.
But I can tell you, I'll pass that along to my wife. I'm sure Amanda will get a big kick out of that.
Oh, Amanda, that's my daughter's name. Great name. Okay, so Bill, so Bill, you're going to be evasive with me. You're not going to tell me if that's the case or not, then, correct?
Well, I'm not trying to be evasive. It's just I just haven't made any decisions. I think we got to get into the new year. We've got to get, everybody's got to get in their new chairs and they let things kind of settle. And it'll be a little bit before any final decisions are made about 2026. I tell you, I'm so excited about 2024, the Trump administration, and everything that's going on. We've got a long way to go before 26.
Well, Bill, I have one final question for you. Will you meet me at the Brass Rail, and can you and I talk about you doing a show on my station here?
Wait, are you buying? If you're buying, then I'm happy to meet. Absolutely.
Okay, I'll call you. We'll get together and we'll discuss you doing a show on this station, because I would hate to see you go back on Rick and Tracy's show, because I think you have much more talent than that.
Okay, Brad, time to wrap it up.
Well, I love all the radio stations here in St. Louis, and of course Rick and Tracy have been very good to me. So I love all you guys, but I always take a free lunch. Okay,
Bill, I call you on that.
All right. Thanks, Brad. Have a great morning.
Bye. Is that fodder for JohnCombest.com tomorrow?
Brad, giving you credit where it's due. That was a good decision to call Bill Eigel. That was a good decision, and I groaned when you said you were going to do it, and it was a good decision to call him.
So you give me a compliment for a change? Is that what that is?
I hope I give you compliments daily, Brad. Yeah. But this one is kind of like your Nieves and Eigel tag team thing, oddly specific. You made a good decision in calling him, Brad.
Okay, John. I think John's still being a little bit tongue-in-cheek there, because he never really gives me a direct compliment like that. But I'll take it positively. Okay, we have to take a break. If Jeff Allen's listening to the show, he's going, "Oh my God, this is the worst talk show I've ever heard."
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?